Hey guys, welcome again. The essential question for chapter 14 is, how are different ideas about geometry connected? And hopefully by the time we get to the end of this chapter, that will make a lot more sense to you. Okay, so this says, draw lines to match each figure to the term that describes the lines, rays, or line segments accurately. Well, first, before we can do that, we need to know the meaning of each of these words. So we have perpendicular, parallel, and intersecting. We are going to start with the term intersecting, and what that means is that if you have two lines, two rays, two line segments, or a mix of the two, if they cross each other at any point, that is where they intersect. So they are intersecting. Parallel means that you have two figures, line segments, rays, lines that are the same distance apart and they don't touch. Okay, so if it is a line and they go on and on and on and on forever, they will never ever ever touch. They stay the same distance apart forever. And then last we have perpendicular. Now perpendicular lines are two lines that intersect, but there's something very specific about that, and that means that they intersect at a 90-degree angle. So you have all where the two lines intersect, all four parts of the intersections are 90 degrees. Okay, so now we need to match these up. So here I have line AB and line CD, and I can look at these and I can say from this side to this side, the lines are spaced evenly apart, and I can kind of visualize if I go on and on and on forever, they will never ever touch. So I know that means that they are parallel. So I'm going to make that line here. And then here I have two lines that cross each other, which I know means intersecting. But before I just say intersecting, I need to make sure that they're not also perpendicular. Because remember, perpendicular are also two sets of intersecting lines, but they intersect at a 90-degree angle. And if I look at this, I can definitely tell it's not 90 degrees. So that would mean that these two, this ray and line segment, are intersecting. And then I have lines AB and CD again, and they are intersecting, and they are all at 90-degree angles. You can see this is a 90 degree, which would mean this would have to be 90 degrees too, because a line is 180 degrees. Okay, so now on this part it says label two parallel streets on the map below as Ridge Avenue and Crest Street. Label two perpendicular streets on the map below as Rogers Lane and Main Street, and label two streets that are intersecting but not perpendicular as Connor Avenue and Willow Lane. So I'm going to look at this map and I'm going to find all of the parallel streets first so that I can decide which one, which two I'm going to label. So if I look at this street, this one's straight, and then this one is straight, so these two are parallel to each other, and this one is straight, so these two are parallel to each other. Also, these two are parallel to each other. But I don't want to just go ahead and label those two of these as a parallel street, because I also want to make sure that naming one of the streets isn't going to conflict with naming them or labeling it something else, because there are only a few places where they intersect that are not perpendicular. So I'm going to look at this and I'm going to say, okay, two streets that are intersecting. I have here this street and this street that are intersecting. I have this street and this street that are intersecting. So I probably don't want to use this line as a parallel, or I'm sorry, the street as a parallel, because I would like to use this as intersecting. So I am going to label this one right here. I'm going to label this one as Ridge Avenue, because this is a parallel line to the other one. And then I'm going to go ahead and down here, I'm going to label this one as Crest Street. Okay, so these two are parallel to each other. Then I need to label two perpendicular streets as, let's see here, Rogers Lane and Main Street. So I have not named this one, and I haven't named this one yet. If I look right here, even though down here it's intersecting, where they are, or this one is kind of crooked, if I look at it, I can see where they cross is, or where they intersect is perpendicular. I can't use either of these two because they're already named, so you can't rename a street. So I'm going to call this street right here, I'm going to call this street Rogers Lane. And then I'm going to call this one Main Street. And then the last thing I have to do is I have to label two streets that are intersecting but not perpendicular. So I'm going to take this street and this street right here, and I'm going to label them. This one right here is going to be Connor Avenue. And this one right here as Willow Lane. Okay, so here we have Ridge and Crest are parallel to each other. We have Main Street and Rogers Lane right here. They are, let me circle that better. Right here where they intersect are all 90-degree angles. And then Connor Avenue and Willow Lane are intersecting, but they're not perpendicular. There are multiple ways that you could have done this, so I'm just going to show you what they did. They did Ridge Avenue and Crest Street, so they did the same parallel ones that we did, but they did Rogers Lane and Main Street right here is perpendicular, and then they did Connor Avenue and Willow Lane right here where they intersected. So either answer is correct. I just wanted you to see the difference there. So moving on to example 1. Oliver was riding in the car and saw this sign. Describe how the outlined line segments cross each other or do not cross each other. So you can see the red lines here, line segments. How are they related to each other? Parallel lines are always the same distance apart. They do not meet or cross each other. So Oliver saw a figure with parallel line segments, right? Because they don't ever meet. They don't touch at all. Okay, example 2. Describe the figure. Use parallel, perpendicular, or intersecting. Use the most specific term. So what that means is if it's perpendicular, we don't want to say they're intersecting. We want to actually use perpendicular. So the figure shows ray AB and line segment CD. The figures cross each other but do not form square corners or 90 degrees. So ray AB and line segment CD are intersecting. Sorry, I keep forgetting I have to do this every time. Intersecting. I'm getting much better at this mouse writing. Okay, so those two are intersecting. Okay, so now it says describe the line segments outlined on the tennis racket. So here I have this line segment and this line segment. They are the same distance apart and they don't intersect, so I know that they are parallel. Okay. And let's see. Okay, so this is your independent practice. So go ahead. If you need extra help, you can go back and view this video again, or you can go to Khan Academy or just kind of look through the examples in your book. You also have a glossary. I also have some examples and the vocabulary terms on my website I have them both under the math tab or the math distance learning tab. You can also email me if you guys need help, and I can set up a video chat session. I hope you guys are all doing well. I miss you so much.